So you feeling good about everything?
Sure.
All right. Anytime you are ready, we can roll them.
All right, everybody, we're going to be going over the burn-in process and how to load a burn-in oven for running the QSFP and PCI product through the burn-in oven for purposes of aging the product. The reason we do this is to get it in a stable state. Over the course of the life of one of these products, I have two examples: the PCIe product as well as the QSFP product. Both are devices used for high-speed communication between servers, communication equipment, etc. What we are attempting to accomplish with this process is to, like I said, get it into a stable state. Meaning as the part ages, it starts to wear out, but in the early part of its life, you have a high fallout also. So the idea is to, this is a high fallout rate, obviously a low, and this is over time. So in the beginning of life, we have a high fallout, and over time, we decline and start to level out. Towards the end of the life, then we start seeing it increase again. We call this the bathtub curve. And it's called that because there's it looks like one curve, but it's made up of two different curves. The first one, like I was describing, is the early fallout, which actually trails off down to zero over time. The other one is as we age, we start increasing, and that's what creates the other side of this bathtub curve. So what we're trying to achieve is this area in the middle where it's more stable and consistent throughout the life of the product. So this process, in 24 hours, ages it to equivalent to a year. So we accomplish this with these two ovens. Burn-in oven 1 and 2. It has a burn-in controller because throughout this process you need to have the product active. It needs to be energized. It simulates how it would be working out in the field in real life. So this is responsible for energizing it and keeping it energized throughout this 24-hour process. The ovens themselves have a timer that will automatically shut down after the 24-hour cycle, shutting down your burn-in controller. You also have a watt-load controller, which is responsible for maintaining the temperature, because there's a specific temperature throughout this process you have to maintain. Anything above or below is either aging too much or too little. So he regulates the temperature and sets the time for that controller to run. These two run in tandem, so when you run through this process, you have to ensure that you start them at the same time. You also want to ensure that it's at temperature prior to starting this process. So you see this timer up here, you set it for 15 minutes, which is the time it takes for it to ramp from room temperature or ambient temperature to the 100 degrees. This buzzer will alarm, indicating it's time to start both this timer and that timer. Before you can start the burn-in process, you need the burn-in boards. There's 8 slots, and there's 6 of these boards for each part of the controllers. An A controller and a B controller. When you load this board, you hold, regardless of what product you're working with, by the edges only, and you put your ring finger at the back end of the product. That helps you stabilize it because there are wire bonds on here. Wire bonds are fine wires about the width of your hair, if not smaller. They're very sensitive, they're very prone to damage, and you have to be very careful when handling these products. So you hold it by the edge. Put your finger behind so it doesn't roll. If you don't put that finger back there, when you try to insert it, it will roll. When your finger rolls, you're mashing wire bonds, you just destroy the part. So you hold the burn-in board, you hold your part, your finger behind, starting from slot 1, you slide the part in. And as you can see from our picture back here, I'm indicating that there's a gold strip here. You can insert these products in to this connector too far. If you insert too far, these pins do not make contact with the pads, and you will not have an active product, negating the whole burn-in process, requiring you to go back and redo the whole process. It's a 24-hour process, and it just takes up a lot of time, man-hours, equipment, and it's basically throwing money down the drain. So we want to reduce that as much as possible. So ensure that you can see this strip. So you slide it in, and you'll pull it out just a hair until you can see this strip. You can continue loading in the same manner from slot 1 to 8 until you've loaded all your parts. Once all parts are loaded into your boards, you'll go back over to your oven, and you'll notice that there's a rack inside this oven. This rack holds the board and allows these cables that are connected to that controller to be plugged into it to supply power and activate the devices. So you'll notice that these first 2 slots are backwards. You slide it in, and there's no way to get these cables to the front of this oven to insert. So you have to ensure that all your boards are with this plug in the back. Once you slide your board into the rack, you can reach your hand in, grab one of your plugs, plug it into the board. Once you have plugged it in, you can turn on the controller. You can start heating up the oven. You're ready to start burning in. You just have to get the oven to temperature. You don't want to do this ahead of time because you don't want to be reaching into this oven within 100 degrees C. It's hot, you burn yourself, it's a hazard. So ensure the oven is off prior to starting this for safety. Once you're loaded, you have the oven on, you press the Easy 1 button. That sets the profile and turns it on, and you'll see the set point will go from off to 100. This is the set point. It should correlate to what is programmed up here. You will also see a 1 and a 2 here for the heating. Forgot the term. There's 2 stages, 2 stage heating. So stage 1 is the 1, stage 2 obviously would be the 2. So you want to ensure that both of those are blinking, indicating that they are active. Also, you'll see what looks to be a mountain. That shows you that it's ramping to temperature and it's trying to get there. And then you set your timer and you're done. You know, after 24 hours, you reverse the process, remove your parts in the same way that you loaded them, put them back in the tray, and then you can continue on with the next step.
Thank you, Jeb.